Everyone, welcome back to Touch Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do a From the Vault in-depth sniff review on Happiness by Bath & Body Works Slatkin Co. circa 2011. But before we dig into that, if you are new to Touch Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com. Follow me over on Instagram, as well as my recently launched TikTok. For now, let's dig into my vault, From the Vault, on Happiness. So if you follow me over on Instagram, you'll know that I put a poll up on my Insta story asking folks to vote on either Happiness review, Flower Shop review, or Sage Cucumber review, and it was very close. I think it was like 35% to 34% to 33%. Super close. Happiness did win. I filmed a series when I relaunched Touch Fire Twice called From the Vault, Harry Bring Them Back, that focused on Vault, Slatkin Co, Bath & Body Works fragrances that I really wanted Slatkin Co and Harry Slatkin to reimagine, revamp, and elevate as part of Slatkin Co within Homeworks, or if they're, at the time we believed there may be, we being the candle community, believe there may be an additional line or collection, actual Slatkin Co collection, in addition to Aroma Home, Scentworks, and Homeworks. That has not come to fruition, so that may have just been a pipe dream. And I did one other From the Vault video, and I realized rather than doing the big collection ones, it's fun just to do maybe every other week or so, pull something out from my vault. Likely it's not a candle that is still available today, though perhaps it is. It may be, or you might have to find it online if you really want it, but it could be one that is still coming back over the years at Bath & Body Works. Most of them will probably be from Bath & Body Works because my vault, when we're talking old candles, leans heavily in that brand or direction, but there could be other ones along the way. And so I'll do that. It's just kind of fun if you want to be nostalgic, reminisce, hear sort of my current nose reviewing candles and fragrances that I may or may not have reviewed back 11 years ago when my channel launched. And it's fun for me to reminisce and dig through my vault, my collection, right? So Happiness won. What is also kind of special for me about this candle, or the collection this candle came in, two things. One, I love the marketing and sort of product development angle of things when it comes to home fragrance. And at a mass market retailer like Bath & Body Works, they have a lot of time for research and development and funds for research and development. And they do a lot, obviously, as we know. They bring out a ton of fragrances and they do different marketing and test collections. And the way they've tested fragrances has evolved a lot over the years, but they will re-release, they'll repackage, they'll rename, and they'll find out what works to sell the most. Like, that's their job, that's what they do, and they do it quite well. Back in 2011, 2012, there were two aromatherapy collections, which that's really my wheelhouse. I love some aromatherapy fragrances. And it was right around the time that I was really starting to dig into Bath & Body Works, Slatkin Co, and really, purchasing a lot and enjoying a lot and getting involved with Facebook groups for Bath & Body Works and the candle community, and YouTube was just kind of starting up. There were a handful of folks who were doing candle reviews. And so I jumped in, and when I started in 2012, what also makes this candle special for me is my very first video, which you can go back and see here if you really want to see ye old, young Josh there, or younger Josh there. And my first video was on the two collections, because what's so cool about this one is they did two similar collections, and it really was the most, I would say, direct example of how they launch, test, pull back, revamp, innovate, test again, and then put a few wide, and a couple ended up going wide, I think. And it was nowhere near the amount of fragrances they actually tested, which was, I want to say, somewhere around 14 to 16 fragrances. And so I'll very briefly give you like a quick history on that, just because I think it's so interesting. So in 2011, they launched the Aromatherapy Home Collection. There were, 6 or 8, actually purchased 6 that are in that original video. And they had either adjectives or emotions, feelings, vibes associated with each of the candles. They had these gold lids. It was the first time they ever did gold lids, because this was pre-White Barn coming back to Bath & Body Works, where, for a while, all the gold lids were White Barn and the chrome lids were Bath & Body Works or Slatkin Co. And so when they launched as Aromatherapy Home, which you can see here, they had comfort, happiness, passion, flirt, peace, joy. There were just 3 notes or so around each one of them, and it was meant to evoke that feeling, that vibe, that emotion in an aromatherapeutic way, separate from their traditional aromatherapy line. Then that test collection failed, and then in February of 2012, they relaunched the collection, looked the same as far as the art direction went, had some of the same names with the same scents, some of the same names with completely different scents, and then they canceled out some and they added some new. So there were 8 that launched in February of 2012, and those were Relief, love, smile, refresh, peace, hope, happy, and flirt. And with that, it was no longer called Aromatherapy Home, but it was called Slatkin Co Good Life. And you can see some of the marketing here. I took photos in the store because I, at that point, realized this is interesting. This is something different. Some of the marketing was from, home office in New York City, where Slatkin Co within L Brands was headquartered for some time, where it was clearly printed out on a color laser printer, nothing like the cardstock sort of marketing that the stores have, all the time now. It was a bit more patched together because it was truly testing in, a handful of stores at the time. And what was wild about it was not just the changing from Aromatherapy Home to Slatkin Co Good Life, but the idea that Flirt came out with the same label in both collections, completely different fragrances, completely different notes. That's one thing that I found really wild at the time, sort of new to the idea of this. And what's also interesting was I loved the first Flirt. It was so unique. The second one was more just like, in the second collection in general, I would say was a bit more straightforward, mainstream, less nuance, easier for mass market demographic to want to purchase, both in name and fragrances. They were a bit watered down. I was less impressed with the second collection than the first, which often is the case. They kind of test the waters, literally, and they pull back and they see, okay, these ones are a little too out there or conceptual for the average buyer, perhaps Bath & Body Works. And so Flirt was just a straightforward kind of like your pomegranate lemonade, a fruity whatever. But the first one was really nuanced. And when I was shopping that day, one of the days in the store, this was in Paramus, New Jersey, back when I lived in New York City, there was a woman from corporate who was, taking some photos and testing, and she clearly from corporate because she wasn't, in the apron, she wasn't, an associate. She was setting up the candles and she asked, oh, what do you think of them and whatever. And I talked to her about them and I said, oh, I loved Flirt when it came out in the first collection back in the fall, not so much now. And yeah, I'm kind of disappointed to see. And she's like, oh, you might see that one again. Fast forward to later 2012 when Sparkling Icicles came out, maybe Paris Daydream came out. The Sparkling Icicles we know, the Paris Daydream we know, that actually was a repackage of Flirt, sort of that, probably like a cologne-like unisex cologne. I think probably maybe even like a duplicate of some Calvin Klein or super, super, super popular, like early mid-aughts, 2000s unisex cologne. I didn't realize exactly what it was at the time, but it was so wild to see, oh, when I smelled that, I was like, this is Flirt. And I realized, that was when I first realized, oh, they do repackages. How wild is that? And now it's so common. That's anyone beyond your casual shopper at Bath & Body Works knows that comes through. That's really how it works. And that's how many fragrance brands work. So all that to say, that is the quick history of the collections. These Vault videos won't always be so in-depth, but it was special to me because it was sort of my first time entering and understanding a bit how the marketing worked, Bath & Body Works and test collections worked, and it was my first video here on TouchTheFireTwice. Let's dig into happiness. So again, as you see here, it says happiness, citrus brightens the moment, aromatherapy home, scented candle, and then on top of the photo label, you can see there are just a few of the notes listed there. So it says citrus, wild mint, vanilla, and right on the bottom there it says the same, brighten each moment with wild mint, sparkling citrus, and vanilla. And you can also see there, I think most folks know this at this point, the pour date here, that 1/265 means 2011, 265th day of the year, which works out to around September 21st. I did pull this from the vault and burn it. So you can see here, lighting it. It had a healthy pool, healthy projection. It had those little white tips on the wicks, which it now has post-burn as well. I burned this for probably at least 3 hours. It took some time to get a full pool. Clearly the wax formulation and wicks were different back then. We know they've evolved a lot over the years. Solid in the sense that they did get a full pool. The wicks performed fine, but it was very slow. It even resulted in some like bubbles coming through. So not an ideal burn, and I think it was just fast enough and hot enough to burn through at an acceptable rate. But if it was any slower and lower of a burn, it might have struggled to get a pool and it would end up singeing the oils because the wax would not burn off the appropriate rate at the same pace as the oils. Now granted, this is an older candle, but I can tell you that that's how it performed back in the day as well. But most importantly, what is the fragrance on this? So coming with wild mint, sparkling citrus, and vanilla doesn't tell us a whole lot. What kind of citrus? I would love to know. What kind of mint? Is it peppermint? Is it spearmint? Is it something else? But getting my nose on it, I will say, just taking it off, I can smell this fairly strong, which I love. The candles were, across the board, consistently strong in sort of the golden era of Slatkin Co at Bath & Body Works. They weren't always the best burners, which we've also seen with Homeworks with Slatkin Co in recent years, but the fragrances were pretty strong. And this is strong. And when I burned it in my study just recently for this video, it got that full pull, and it had a beautiful throw, and it lingered in the room. After I blew it out, at least for three or 4 hours, I could smell it when I would re-enter the room, which was really nice. The fragrance itself, though it sounds simple, citrus, vanilla, and mint, and not groundbreaking, it is quite unique. In fact, I'll say I have yet to sniff any fragrance like this. So it was never repackaged as something else, to my knowledge, over the years of Bath & Body Works. It is fairly strong on the mint, but it is not chewing gum mint. It is not overly cooling mint. It doesn't feel holly. It doesn't feel particularly foody. It is truly, they say, wild mint, kind of a soft mint. So perhaps a spearmint. It's not that mentholated, whoosh cooling thing for twisted peppermints. Because if you think mint and vanilla, you think, oh, is this like a candy cane or peppermint or twisted peppermint? And it's not. There's that soft mint. The citrus, the sunflower kind of works because it's this bright, sunny day. But it's not a sparkling citrus like a perfume or cologne like a bergamot might be. It's a very soft, very sweet citrus that I almost wouldn't call sparkling. The only bright poppy I get from this really is sort of that mint, the refreshing side of the mint. The citrus is just a sweet, calm, not quite grapefruit or orange, not as simple as a lemon. Could be a bit of lemon, maybe some lemon and a grapefruit, or maybe mandarin, or even like a yuzu, because there's probably the tiniest hint of floral, not even a floral blossom in here, I don't think, but maybe in, how some citrus or the essential oils of citrus can have a bit of a floral aspect to it. A soft, sweet citrus. And the vanilla is a beautiful vanilla. It is kind of this creamy, airy, whipped vanilla, a little bit light, cloud-like vanilla, but not powdery and not cloyingly sweet, not like a frosting or meringue kind of sweetness like sometimes we see with, rosewater meringue, things like that. But still a soft, sweet vanilla that just kind of sits over top of the mint, which is calming the mint down, sits on top of the citrus, calms the citrus down, and it's just this beautiful, bright, for me, it says happiness. It's kind of a calming blend, which you don't always expect from citrus necessarily. That's usually your bright, energizing blends, but vanilla and mint can be calming and grounding. I really love this. I wish they would come back with it in a different fragrance because it is a beautiful blend. It's straightforward, it's simple, but it didn't make it. And in fact, when happiness was turned into happy for the Slatkin Co. The Good Life collection that came out in spring of 2012. It carried the tagline of citrus brightens the moment, but the notes in it were lime, orange, and lang lang. So citrus and more of a floral versus the mint and vanilla. In fact, I didn't purchase that one. Now let's do a little whoop, 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 time travel back to that first video, and let's hear what younger Josh had to say about happiness. We've got happiness, which to me evokes the same kind of mood or feeling, but it's completely different from flirt. And this is a mix of wild mint, sparkling citrus, and vanilla. And it's just, I love this one. But it just really was like a bright, kind of airy, minty, like very interesting, the mix of vanilla and mint. It's really not like any of the mints they have, because there's a lot of mint thrown into their candles, it seems like these days. But it's just, I can see, it says brightens the moment. It's not anything like, really like anything they've had before. So it was really interesting to me. I liked it a lot. And I was upset, or not upset, let's, keep it real here. I was disappointed that the relaunch, when that came out, didn't have happiness or flirt in this form. There was flirt and happy, but two completely different candles from these. All right, so some things never change, I suppose. That is the in-depth sniff from the Vault review on happiness. Let me know if you are hellbent on seeing Sage, Cucumber, or Flower Shop. Those were strong vote getters, so I feel like these are probably the next two that might make the most sense to do for these From the Vault videos. But also let me know if there's any candles that maybe you've seen in my collection, from my old collection videos, that you want me to dig out for my next or other From the Vault videos, because I do think this is a fun series to continue to bring back to the channel and just go through my own scent memories and maybe some of yours as well. So that is it for today, and until next time, take care.